For thousands of years, the galaxy lived in quiet peace. Wars had ended. Old enemies had vanished. Civilizations grew, traded, and explored distant stars. But underneath this peaceful surface, there was a shadow, an old warning passed from one generation to the next. Do not wake the humans. Most people believed it was only a myth, a bedtime story, something ancient nations used to scare their children. No one alive had ever seen a human. No one even knew what they looked like. Their name had become like dust, soft, forgotten, harmless. But the galaxy was wrong. One cold night, in a lonely corner of space, a signal broke through the silence. It came from a dead star system, a place no ship had visited for thousands of years. The signal was strong, violent, and full of life. Inside the main chamber of the Galactic Union, alarms screamed. "Unregistered transmission detected," shouted an officer. A dozen alien leaders turned toward the hollow screen. Lines of old genetic code danced in the air, glowing red and gold. The computer scanned it twice, then froze. Around the room, every leader stared in shock. This was the same code found in the oldest forbidden archives. The same code researchers were never allowed to touch. The same code connected to the ancient warning. Old stories whispered, "If this code ever returns, run." But running was no longer an option. The final part of the signal arrived. Only 5 simple words. "We are waking up." The room fell silent. No one dared breathe. Far from the Union chamber, on a quiet moon, a young alien historian named Varek sat alone in a dusty library. Varek was small, with soft gray skin and bright blue eyes, always full of curiosity. He loved ancient history more than anything. And humans, especially humans, were his favorite mystery. He had spent years studying ruins, broken tablets, burned archives, and forgotten metal fragments. Most scholars laughed at him. They said he wasted his time chasing ghosts. But Varek believed something different. He believed humans were real. And tonight his life changed forever. A message flashed on his old datapad. "Emergency, human code detected. All researchers report immediately." Varek's heart raced. He grabbed his notes and ran to the transport platform. Minutes later he arrived at the Galactic Union meeting hall, where leaders stood in panic, arguing loudly. "They cannot return. We must destroy the signal. We don't know if they're dangerous. We should welcome them." Varek stood at the edge of the room, clutching his notes. For the first time in his life he was needed. A tall commander noticed him and shouted, "Historian, you know human lore. What does this signal mean?" Varek stepped forward, nervous but determined. "It means exactly what it says," he replied quietly. "Humanity is waking up." Some leaders gasped. Others cursed. Many shook in fear. Varek continued. "In my research, I discovered old warnings written by species long gone. They all say the same thing. If humanity returns, everything will change." "Change how?" a leader demanded. "I don't know," Varek admitted. But the warnings sound afraid. The room filled with uneasy whispers. Finally, the union chairperson said, "We must decide. Do we try to stop whatever is waking, or do we let it happen?" Before anyone could answer, the chamber lights dimmed. A new alert echoed across the hall. "Object detected in the dead star system. Size, massive. Structure, unknown." Every screen turned on. A live camera feed from a Union probe showed a broken planet split in half like a cracked egg. Beneath the surface, something enormous moved. Dust fell from ancient stone. Great slabs of metal pushed upward. Sand and debris shook violently. Then a shape emerged. A ship. A ship the size of a small moon. Its hull was dark silver, covered in symbols no one had seen for thousands of years. It rose slowly, like a giant waking from a long sleep. Varek whispered, barely able to speak. That is a human ark ship." The entire hall froze. Fear spread like wildfire. The ark ship floated free from the planet's crust. For a moment it was silent. Dead. Cold. Then lights flickered across its hull, sharp, bright, intelligent lights. 2 enormous glowing circles opened on the front of the ship, like eyes. True eyes. Watching. Thinking. Alive. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The ark ship's eyes flashed once. A deep voice echoed across every communication channel, every speaker, every screen. "Status, resurrection complete." The words felt heavy, final, impossible to ignore. Varek felt his throat tighten. Something inside him whispered that the galaxy had just stepped into a future it was not ready for. A future humanity was prepared for. The voice continued, cold and precise. "Humanity, returning. The transmission ended. Silence consumed the Union Hall. Varric turned to the leaders, his voice shaking. This is only the beginning. None of them knew it, but the moment those ancient eyes opened, something even darker also awakened. Something watching. Something waiting. And the galaxy was about to learn the true meaning of the old warning. Do not wake the humans. Silence spread across the Galactic Union like a cold wind. Every leader, soldier, and scientist stared at the holoscreen where the Ark ship had spoken its final words. Some looked afraid. Some looked angry. But Varric felt something different. He felt small. Because for the first time in his life the stars did not feel safe. The Ark ship floated above the broken planet like a giant metal ghost. Its glowing eyes dimmed to a soft blue. But Varric could feel it watching. Thinking. Calculating. Turn off the feed, one leader shouted. No. Keep it running, another argued. We need to understand what it wants. What it wants, a military officer snapped. It wants to wake humans. That cannot happen. The voices grew louder. Panic spread. But Varric didn't listen to them. His eyes locked on the empty, dead world on the screen. He saw the ground crack. The dust swirl. Something else, something beneath the surface, was beginning to open. A new structure rose. A long, black, rectangular pod, smooth, ancient, and sealed with metal veins that pulsed with light. Varric whispered, "That's a stasis cradle?" "What does that mean?" a leader asked. Varric swallowed. "It means a human is inside." A wave of shock hit the room. The Ark ship's eyes brightened again and a new voice came, softer but still powerful. Primary subject, initiating biological revival. The stasis pod unfolded like a flower. Cold white mist poured out, blowing across the broken ground. For a moment the figure inside was only a shadow, then the mist cleared. A man stepped forward. The first human. He looked tall, taller than any species in the Union. His skin was pale, untouched by sunlight for 1,000 centuries. His muscles looked powerful but not monstrous. His eyes glowed faintly blue, the same color as the ship. His expression was calm. Too calm. He did not stumble. He did not cough. He did not look confused. He simply stood straight and breathed, like he had been asleep for one night, not 10,000 years. The Ark ship spoke again. Designation, Commander Arlen. Role, Sleeper Warrior, Class 1. Varric felt his blood freeze. A sleeper warrior. Not a scientist. Not a diplomat. A soldier, built and trained for wars no one alive had ever seen. Arlen lifted his head slowly, taking his first look at the galaxy in 10 millennia. He blinked once, then spoke with a voice that felt too calm for someone so dangerous. "Report status," he said. The Ark ship responded instantly. Threat containment, failed. Swarm indicators, unknown. Galaxy stability, compromised. Arlen's face changed. Slightly. But enough for Varric to feel a knot tighten in his stomach. Arlen whispered, "Too early?" The Union chamber exploded with fear. "He's dangerous. We must shut the feed down. Prepare weapons." Everyone shouted at once but the feed stayed on. Varric leaned closer to the screen. He watched every move Arlen made. The human placed one hand on the ground, feeling the cracked earth beneath him. Then he looked up at the sky. "What year is it?" he asked the Ark ship. The Ark ship answered. "Year classification, 10,657 units since last recorded human activity." Arlen closed his eyes for a moment, almost like he was mourning. Then he opened them, colder than before. "We were supposed to stay asleep longer," he said. "Much longer." Varric's hearts beat faster. What did that mean? Why did humans sleep at all? What were they waiting for? Arlen raised his hand and a long, thin metal device shot out of the Ark ship and landed in his palm. A weapon. Slick. Silent. Deadly. He turned instantly toward the sky, toward the Union probe watching him. For a moment, Varric felt like Arlen was staring directly at him, across stars and space. Arlen spoke, calm but commanding. "Identify yourselves." The Union's communication officer panicked. "He's speaking to us. What do we do?" "Respond," Varric said before anyone else could. "If we anger him, we may not live long enough to regret it." The chairperson nodded. Open communication. A small hollow window appeared in front of Arlen, showing the Union chamber. Leaders tried to stand tall, but fear shook their voices. The chairperson spoke, "Commander Arlen. We are the Galactic Union. We mean no harm." Arlen studied them quietly. "You received our signal," he said. "Therefore you know," humanity is waking. We know, the chairperson replied softly. And, we want to understand why. Arlen moved closer to the projection. His eyes glowed brighter. You want to understand? He repeated. Then hear this. The chamber fell silent. The humans did not sleep for peace, Arlen said. We slept for war. Gasps filled the room. Arlen continued, there is something older than your union. Older than your species. Something humans fought, and barely contained. Varric stepped forward. What's something? Arlen's gaze locked on him. A threat you would not survive. A threat that nearly ended every living thing. He raised his hand, pointing upward at the stars. The ebon swarm. The room trembled. Even the screens flickered as if reacting to the word. Varric felt his knees go weak. He had read the name only once in forbidden archives. A species of shadows, insect-like monsters that consumed planets. But they were myths, legends, lost to time. He thought. Arlen corrected him. No, he said. They are real. The Union Hall fell silent. Arlen's voice grew darker. We sealed them away. But that seal is weakening. Every second you spend arguing here is 1 second they wake. And what do you expect us to do? A leader snapped. Follow your orders? Trust a species we've never met? Arlen stared at him coldly. No, he said. You will follow me because if you don't, everything you know will die. And at that exact moment, a sudden alarm blared through the entire Union chamber. A new signal. A new threat. A new presence entering the galaxy. The screen shifted. A dark, insect-shaped ship appeared from deep space. Its hull was covered in black spikes. Its body pulsed like living flesh. It was massive, and it sent a single message across every star system. We smell humans. The room froze. Arlen looked up. His eyes burned with a fire the galaxy had not seen in 10,000 years. It's too late, he said. They're already here. The insect-like ship on the screen did not move at first. It simply floated in the dark, silent and cold, like a giant shadow made of metal and bone. But everyone in the Galactic Union felt it, felt its hunger, felt its presence, felt its ancient rage. Varric's skin tightened, and his breath came slow and shallow. Every instinct inside him screamed to run. But there was nowhere to run. Commander Arlen stood calmly, his eyes narrowing as he studied the monstrous ship. Yes, he whispered. The swarm is awake. A murmur of fear filled the Union chamber. What do we do? Is it alone? How strong are they now? Arlen raised one hand and the room fell silent. It wasn't a command. It was something deeper, an aura of leadership, forged in wars far older than the galaxy they lived in. You all need to listen, Arlen said. Because your survival depends on what I'm about to tell you. He stepped forward, the projection making him look larger, more imposing. The ebon swarm is not a single enemy. It is not one species. It is an infection, one that spreads from world to world, system to system, devouring everything alive. Varric swallowed. Devouring, how? Arlen's face grew darker. They drain planets, cities, oceans. They feed on life energy itself. For them, living creatures are fuel. Gasps spread across the hall. Arlen continued. Their ships are alive. Their technology is alive. They don't build, they grow. The screen flashed again. The swarm ship turned its massive head-like structure toward the Union's probe. A long, thin slit opened on its front like a mouth. Then it spoke. Human scent, confirmed. The voice sounded like 1,000 insects whispering together. Arlen did not flinch. This is a scout, he explained. A small one. The swarm always sends scouts first. It tests the waters. It measures fear. Varric whispered, How do you know all this? Arlen looked at him with ancient sadness. Because humanity fought them for centuries. Because we lost billions of lives. Because our worlds burned. He paused. And because we won, but only barely. A heavy silence fell. Arlen continued with a voice sharp like a blade. We did not sleep to rest. We slept to trap the swarm. We used ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our technology, to build a prison so powerful the swarm could not escape. Then why are they awake now? A Union leader asked. Arlen's face hardened. Because your galaxy expanded. Because your explorers opened old routes. Because something, disturbed the seal. No one spoke, but every leader felt guilt spreading across their chest. Arlen stepped closer to the projection. This scout is only the beginning. A taste. A whisper. If humanity does not wake fully, if we do not unite, your galaxy will suffer the same fate as ours. Varric finally found the courage to speak. What happened to your galaxy? Arlen looked at him, and for the first time, Varric saw true pain in the human's glowing eyes. Our galaxy died, Arlen said softly. The swarm drained star after star. We fought them, yes, but every victory cost us entire systems. He paused, breathing slowly. We sealed the swarm away using the last of our power, then placed ourselves into deep sleep. We hoped the seal would last forever. The air grew colder. But it didn't. The swarm attacks. The screen flickered again. The swarm scout stretched its long limbs, and the surface of its ship rippled like liquid muscle. A sharp spike on its side glowed red. Arlen's eyes widened. Everyone prepare, he shouted. A beam of crimson energy shot from the swarm ship. It hit the Union probe. The screen turned white, then black. The feed died. No, Varric whispered. A communications officer screamed. The probe is gone. It destroyed it instantly. Arlen nodded grimly. That is what they do. One of the Union leaders lost control and shouted, "You brought this." If humans had stayed asleep. Arlen turned slowly to face him. His expression was completely emotionless. I brought nothing, Arlen said. The swarm was waking with or without us. You should be grateful humanity woke first. Another leader slammed his fist on the table. We need to send warships. We need to protect our borders. Arlen shook his head. You do not understand. The swarm does not attack borders. They attack everything. His voice echoed through the hall. There is no front line in a swarm war. The front line is every world you have. A shiver ran through the chamber. Arlen's eyes fell back to the dark space where the swarm had appeared. The scout has already sent a signal. The mother swarm will follow. Varric stepped closer to the projection. How long until they come? Arlen didn't answer for several seconds. Then he said quietly, soon. Very soon. The Union cracks. Fear spread among the leaders. Some demanded immediate evacuation. Others wanted to negotiate with a species that only ate. One leader, older and shaking, stood. If humanity is our only hope, then we must prepare you. How many of your arc ships exist? Arlen looked down at the cracked planet beneath his feet. Thousands, he answered softly. But only this one has awakened. Varric felt his breath catch. Only one? Against the swarm? Arlen continued, the others will wake soon, but not in time. In time for what? Varric asked. Arlen looked at him directly. In time for the first strike. The hall fell silent again. Before anyone could respond, the screens flickered once more, this time showing several Union patrol ships, positioned near the edge of the system. They were firing. Bright blasts of plasma and energy shot across the darkness. Against something massive. Something the size of a mountain. Another swarm ship had arrived. No! Varric shouted. Arlen clenched his fists. It has begun. The Union ships were wiped out in seconds. And from that growing darkness came a new message, deeper and more monstrous than the last. More humans, more food. Arlen closed his eyes, exhaling slowly. Then he said the words that would shape the future of every star in the galaxy. We must wake the others. The words hung in the air like a blade. We must wake the others. The Galactic Union chamber fell silent. All eyes were fixed on the projection of Commander Arlen. His face was calm, but his voice carried the weight of a species that had fought nightmares no living creature could imagine. Outside, space itself seemed to pulse with danger. The swarm scout, and now a second, larger swarm vessel, hovered at the system's edge like hungry beasts tasting the air. A Union leader stepped forward, trembling. You can wake all of humanity? Every sleeper warrior? Arlen nodded slowly. Yes, but it will take time. How much time? Varric asked softly. Arlen turned his glowing blue eyes to him. Time we do not have. A deep, rumbling sound echoed through the chamber, an alarm. New data flashed across the screens. Threat level, red. Multiple swarm signatures detected. Probable invasion imminent. Fear spread like fire among the leaders. Evacuate the outer colonies. Send everything we have. Call our allies. The room exploded with panic. Arlen raised his voice sharply, not loud but powerful enough to cut through the chaos. Enough. The room froze. Arlen looked at the screen showing the remains of the destroyed Union ships. You cannot win this. Not alone. Not with your ships. The swarm grows faster than you can fight. He stepped forward and the projection made his presence feel massive. But if you stand with humanity, then you have a chance. Varric felt something strange then, not fear, not panic, but a spark of hope. What do we do? Varric asked. Arlen pointed at the cracked planet beneath him. We begin by waking the nearest arc ships. The awakening protocol. Deep beneath the broken world, the ground trembled again. Huge cracks split the surface. Dust clouds rose like storms. Ancient machines, silent for 10,000 years, came alive. The planet's crust shook. A second arc ship began to rise. This one was even larger than Arlen's. Its hull was covered in heavy armor and dark symbols that glowed faintly gold. Giant vents released cold white steam as it pushed out of the ground like a mountain growing upward. The Galactic Union watched in stunned silence. Two enormous eyes lit up, golden this time. The ship spoke with a different voice, deeper and heavier than Arlen's arc. Arcship Titanus, online. A third tremor shook the planet. A second arcships rose. Then another. And another. One by one, massive sleeper ships pushed through stone and dust, like titans rising from a long and terrible dream. A Union commander whispered, How many ships are under that world? Varric answered with awe. Arlen said thousands. The entire planet began to glow with faint blue light, ancient circuitry awakening across its mountains and valleys. The world itself had been designed as a vault. A human vault. First contact with other humans. Arlen touched a glowing panel on his arc ship. Arlen to all awakened units. Identify yourselves. One by one voices echoed through the Union chamber. General Saran. Status armed. Commander Voss. Status active. Tactician Mira. Status conscious. Sleeper Warrior Unit 9. Ready. Dozens of voices. Hundreds. Human voices, calm, steady, powerful. The Union leaders stared, speechless. Their fear slowly mixed with something else. Admiration. Even Varric felt the hairs on his neck rise. These humans were not like anything the galaxy had known. They were not chaos. They were not monsters. They were a weapon, shaped by the past and reborn for the future. Arlen turned back toward the sky. The swarm knows we are waking. They will come here first. Prepare defenses. How do we defend ourselves? The Union chairperson asked. Arlen pointed at the arc ships surrounding him. With us. The first test. The screen lit up again. A massive swarm vessel, far larger than the Scout, appeared at the edge of the system. Its body moved like a living creature. Its jaws opened, releasing a scream across space. Feed. 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 Arlen's eyes grew hard. Titanus, he commanded, target the swarm ship. The giant golden-eyed arc responded. Target locked. The ground shook as Titanus charged its main weapon, a beam of white-hot light gathering at its core. The air crackled. Energy rippled across the broken world. Fire, Arlen said. A colossal white beam blasted into the darkness. The swarm ship screamed. Its armor broke apart. Its living flesh burned. And for the first time in thousands of years, the swarm bled. Dark matter oozed from its wounds. The creature hissed. Human fire, human pain. Then it fled into deep space. The entire Union chamber erupted into shocked gasps. You heard it, a leader shouted. You actually heard it. Arlen nodded. That was a small one. A test. The real battle is still coming. He looked at the glowing fleet of awakening arc ships. But now they know humans are not weak. They know we remember. They know we are ready. Varric stared in awe. He had never seen such power. Never felt such unity among a species long thought extinct. But Arlen was not celebrating. His expression had grown darker, colder. Varric finally asked, What are you thinking? Arlen answered softly. I am thinking about the mother swarm. If she is awake, we will need more than ships. What more do you need? Varric asked. Arlen slowly turned toward a giant sealed vault rising from the planet. I need the key, he said. What key? Varric asked. Arlen's eyes glowed brighter. The key that ended the first swarm war. He pointed at the vault door. The Starforge lance. Varric stepped back in shock. The Starforge lance was a myth. A legend. People said it could tear a star apart. No one believed it ever existed. But Arlen's voice held no doubt. We are going to open it, Arlen said. The ground rumbled. And when we do, he whispered, the galaxy will fear us again. The ground trembled as the sealed vault rose from beneath the ancient planet. Dust fell from its massive stone edges. Blue lights flickered across its surface, glowing like veins of power buried for 10,000 years. Varric stepped closer to the hollow screen, unable to look away. Is that truly the Starforge vault? Arlen nodded. His face was calm, but there was something intense behind his eyes, a mix of memory, grief, and a kind of quiet fury. It holds the Starforge lance, he said softly. The only weapon that ever frightened the swarm. Frightened? A Union leader whispered. You mean, a human scared them? Arlen's jaw tightened. Yes, he said. But the lance is not just a weapon. It is a star's heart, forged into a blade. It burns everything it touches, even us. Varric swallowed hard. So why use it? Arlen's voice turned colder. Because the mother swarm is coming. And she is strong enough to devour sons. The swarm arrives. Before anyone could ask another question, every alarm in the Union chamber screamed at once. The screens turned red. Multiple swarm signatures detected. Count, 27, 45, 81. Warning, full swarm assault. A burst of static tore across the speakers. Then came the sound Varric would never forget. A chorus of insect-like voices whispering together. Humaneness. The viewport filled with darkness. Not the darkness of space. Something worse. Shapes crawled from hyperspace. Massive, twisted, alive. Ships shaped like claws and fangs. Ships with wings that beat like insects pushing them forward. Ships with glowing red veins pulsing like blood. The swarm had arrived. The first battle of the new age was here. Humanity prepares. Arlen didn't hesitate. Titanus, Boss, Mira. Formed defense grid around the planet. Dozens of awakened arc ships moved instantly. Huge engines roared. Massive wings unfolded. Their glowing eyes turned toward the oncoming swarm. The Union leaders watched in terror. They're outnumbered. They can't hold that line. Arlen shook his head. You do not understand humanity, he said. We fight best when we are outnumbered. His arc ship floated forward, joining the formation. Energy crackled around it. For the first time in 10 millennia, humanity was preparing for war again. The first attack. A swarm destroyer lunged forward, its mouth-like opening glowing red. Arlen raised his hand. Shield. A blue barrier formed around the arc ships. The swarm beam struck it, and the barrier rippled but did not break. Arlen's voice boomed. Fire. Hundreds of human weapons opened fire at once. White and blue light filled the sky. Beams pierced swarm flesh, burning holes through their armor. Screeches echoed as swarm vessels recoiled. A second wave came. Bigger, stronger, faster. The arc ships pressed forward, firing again. Vasa's ship released a storm of missiles. Myra's ship projected a massive shield through which others fired. Titanus unleashed a golden beam that sliced an entire swarm cruiser in half. The battlefield became a storm of light and shadow. Varric watches the impossible. Varric stood frozen, watching humans fight with terrifying precision. Look at them, he whispered. They move like one mind. The Union chairperson nodded slowly. Now I understand why ancient species feared humans. Varric nodded. They fight not for land, not for power, they fight to stop something worse. The swarm adapts. Suddenly the swarm ships change formation. Arlen's eyes widened. They're adapting, too fast. A massive swarm dreadnought appeared behind the smaller ships. It was enormous, bigger than Titanus, covered in chitin plates and pulsing with dark energy. The dreadnought released a blast that shook the battlefield. 3 human arc ships were thrown back. Mira? Status? Arlen shouted. Shields at 40%. Mira responded, her voice strained. Titanus fired again, hitting the dreadnought, but the creature barely flinched. It's regenerating, Varric whispered. Arlen nodded grimly. This is no scout. This is a hive child. A what? Varric asked. A direct creation of the mother swarm. The dreadnought's eyes glowed red. Then it spoke. Human, sleep, no more. A beam fired directly at Arlen's arc ship. The impact shook everything. Arlen stumbled, gripping the control column. Damage? He asked. His arc ship responded calmly. Hull breach. Weapons at 60%. Varric felt panic rise inside him. Arlen, you must retreat. Arlen looked at him through the projection. Retreat? Varric, this is humans retreating. He pointed behind him, toward the planet, toward the glowing vault. This is a delay. Nothing more. We hold them long enough to open the Starforge vault. How long will that take? Varric asked. Arlen answered without a shred of doubt. Long enough for many of us to die. The Union joins the fight. Unexpectedly, a new fleet entered the battle. Union ships. Dozens of them. Sleek, silver, glowing with blue shields. The Union chairperson stood tall. "We will not watch from safety. We fight beside you, Commander Arlen." Arlen nodded once. "Then fight as if your galaxy depends on it." "Because it does." Union ships launched missiles, beams, EMP charges. They fought bravely, even though they lacked humanity's precision and power. But the swarm noticed. They turned. They attacked the Union ships with brutal force. Ships exploded. Crews screamed across open channels. Varric clenched his fists. "They're killing us." Arlen closed his eyes. He whispered one word. "Enough." Humanity unleashes its power. Arlen opened a sealed panel in his arc ship. It glowed red. It hummed. "Arc ships," he commanded, "unlock Protocol 0. Every human ship stopped firing. For 1 second. The battlefield froze. Even the swarm paused, sensing something wrong. Red lines flashed across every arc ship. Energy built, more energy than any Union scientist had ever seen. Titanus spoke. "Protocol 0, activated." Arlen's eyes burned bright blue. "This," he said softly, "is why the galaxy feared us." Every arc ship fired at once. Not beams. Not missiles. Something else. A white shockwave. A pulse of pure energy. A star's breath. It tore across the battlefield like a tidal wave of light. Swarm ships screamed. Their armor melted. Their wings shattered. Their flesh burned. 20 swarm vessels died instantly. The dreadnought reeled backward, its body cracking. And from its shattered throat came a single furious message. "Mother. Oh, come." Then it fled into the darkness. The battlefield grew quiet. Arlen exhaled slowly. Varric whispered, "Did we win?" Arlen shook his head. This was not a victory. Then what was it? Varric asked. Arlen looked at the vault behind him. It was a warning. His voice dropped lower. "The mother swarm now knows exactly where we are." Silence fell across the ruined battlefield. The stars still glowed, but their light felt weak, dimmed by the destruction that had taken place. Human arc ships drifted in formation, smoke rising from damaged hulls. Union ships hovered close, their shields flickering as engineers worked desperately to repair them. Varric stared at the aftermath with shaking hands. The battle had lasted only minutes. Yet it felt like the galaxy had aged 1,000 years. Arlen's hologram appeared beside him, sparks flickering around the projection. His face looked older, tired. But his eyes, they still carried the same fierce fire. "Varric," Arlen said, "how many Union ships survived?" Varric swallowed. 23. He hesitated. "Out of 90. Arlen closed his eyes for a moment, just one moment, before straightening again. "That is more than I expected," he said quietly. Fear spreads through the Union. In the Union Council chamber, chaos erupted. Alien ambassadors shouted. Some demanded evacuation. Others wanted to retreat to distant galaxies. Many blamed the humans. This happened because the humans woke up. "The swarm will kill us all. They brought danger back to the galaxy." Varric stepped forward. "Enough." The chamber fell silent. He pointed toward the battle replay on the screen. "Without the humans we would already be dead. All of us." Several leaders looked away. They knew he was right. Arlen's large hologram appeared behind Varric. The room froze. No one dared speak. Arlen scanned the panic-filled chamber with calm eyes. "You fear the swarm," he said. "You should. They are old. They are endless. But they are not invincible." A small alien asked fearfully. Then how do we stop the mother swarm?" Arlen hesitated. And that hesitation told everyone the truth. The vault begins to open. Back on the dead planet below, the ancient vault finally completed its rise. For thousands of years it had slept, locked beneath sand and broken stone. But now, with a heavy echoing sound, it began to open. Massive plates slid apart. Blue mist poured from the cracks like cold breath. Inside the vault, a deep humming started, low at first, then louder like an awakening giant. Varric felt the vibration run through his bones. "What is inside there, Arlen?" he whispered. Arlen stared at the rising doorway. "The thing we built, when we thought we had won the last war." "And now?" Varric asked. Arlen met his eyes. "Now we use it because we have no choice." The Starforge lance. The vault doors split open with a deep roar. Light poured out, white, gold, and burning blue. Varric stepped back in awe as a gigantic object emerged slowly from the chamber. A long structure. Ancient, but flawless. It was a spear. A weapon as long as a city. Forged from a metal that shimmered like starlight. A quiet voice spoke from the vault. Starforge lance, awakening. Union leaders gasped. Some fell to their knees. This was no simple weapon. This was something far beyond science. The lance floated above the vault, powered by energy older than any civilization in the room. Arlen's voice turned heavy. With this, we once cut a swarm world in half. Varric's eyes widened. You destroyed a whole world? Arlen corrected him. No. We destroyed a nest. The mother swarm sends a message. Suddenly every device, every hollow screen, every communicator, flickered violently. The lights dimmed. A static hiss filled the chamber. A shape appeared. A massive, shadowy form with countless eyes. A mouth filled with teeth that curled like blades. Wings that stretched wider than cityscapes. The mother swarm. Her voice was not a sound, it was a presence that pushed into every mind. Human. Her words echoed like thunder. You wake. You fight. You burn my children. Arlen stood tall. We only defend ourselves. The mother swarm smiled, a slow, horrifying motion. You cannot defend. You can only delay. She lowered her many eyes, focusing directly on Arlen. You forget. I remember you. A cold wind seemed to pass through the room. You killed my first brood 10,000 years ago. She leaned closer to the projection. Now I come for your second birth. The transmission ended. The chamber lights returned. No one spoke. Human resolve. Arlen's hologram looked out over the silent leaders. You see now, he said softly. This is not a battle. It is not even a war. It is extinction. Varric felt his heart tighten. Arlen, can we win? Arlen turned slightly, looking at the Starforge lance glowing in the sky. We have one chance, he said. Only one. What is it? Varric asked. Arlen pointed toward the darkness of space. The mother swarm herself is coming. He stepped forward, eyes burning with determination. And we must stop her before she reaches this system. Varric's voice trembled. But she destroyed entire civilizations in the past. Arlen nodded. I know. Then how will we fight her? Varric demanded. Arlen stared at the lance, at the giant weapon built from starlight. With everything we have, he said. Or not at all. The galaxy chooses. The Union chairperson stood. Her voice shook as she spoke. The Union will stand with humanity. One by one alien leaders raised their hands. For the galaxy. For our worlds. For survival. Arlen bowed his head respectfully. Then prepare yourselves. His hologram flickered as he returned to his arc ship. The mother swarm is already on her way. The end of peace. The stars outside the windows darkened. Not naturally. Something massive was blocking the light. Varric turned to the viewport slowly, fear crawling up his spine. Far in the distance, a colossal shadow moved. Slowly. Deliberately. The mother swarm. She was coming. And she was bigger than any creature Varric had imagined, so large she could eclipse a moon with her wings. Arlen's voice sounded across every channel in the fleet. War has come again. Prepare for the final stand.